Hey random stranger, so this is just something new that I'm trying out. I will be having live watch parties for Oshinoko Season 2 with fellow streamer and my very good friend Schyph. This way, hopefully I will actually be able to watch some new stuff and get through more animes faster. But don't worry, I will still be continuing the deep dives into Hibike, Haibane and Fate Zero. But for now, please just enjoy this VOD of the very first watch party that we had right after episode 1 dropped. And if you'd like to join for future streams, just check out the description below for how to do that. Should we talk about our thoughts about season 1? Or maybe not thoughts, because there's a lot of thoughts, but
you mean
the struggle.
Episode 1?
Well, I mean, I'll say what I got from season 1 first. I think I had to get used to the humor, or maybe not the humor. What is it? I had to get used to the style that the original author has and the way that he critiques idol culture. That's too vague, I know.
I mean, but it's also I think he uses humor to present the idea, but also critiques the idea without being blatant, being like, you are wrong, this is bad. It's just like presented, but also have like it's like almost making fun of it.
Yes,
if that makes sense.
Like lampooning it and having characters within the show critique the issue. And so kind of presenting the issue from all aspects, but making sure that there is that critical voice in there, which is good. Yeah. But yeah, no, once I got used to the style that Oshinoko is in, it was a good ride.
It probably would have helped more if he got into Kaguya Sama.
Kaguya Sama, I feel like I'm used to it now. Like I've been immunized from the barrage of stuff that just happens, and it doesn't drain my brain. Yeah, that's just a normie brain acclimatizing, I guess, to the way that manga and anime deals with issues.
Yeah, it's like you can't ever directly critique without backlash. I think that's why, like, when Oshinoko came out, people actually thought, oh my god, this is so daring. Like, because it's so rare for people in Japanese culture to call things out. It's a very follow the culture, don't stand out. Oshinoko was like, woof, we're being daring today.
Warning, I do want to bring up one of the scenes in episode 1, I think it was that huge discussion that we had. I feel like that was really what tripped me up for the next few episodes. I just couldn't compute. And it was, it was the breastfeeding scene and the actually honing in on the issue of this guy is a grown man and yet he's in a baby's body breastfeeding, which is a totally natural thing to do, but also it's this additional dimension of he's a man who actually admired the idol on whose boob he's sucking on right now. Like that whole thing just crashed my mind. And I think
he didn't suck on her boob though.
Oh no, he didn't. Like, no, just the entertaining the thought. Yes, you're correct. It's the whole delving into the whole issue. Even just delving into it. And I was like, why do we have to go into this thing? And I was like, okay, fine, it's anime, but also 2, I think because I have a particular, I don't know, call it what you will, sensitivity, I don't know. I felt like the humor with which it was dealt in the humorous manner that it was presented kind of like cut me the wrong way. And I was like, essentially it's a weird twisted sort of pedophilia, but then it's not. But then I'm like, I feel all weird inside and I don't really know how I should take this. Or should I find this funny? Should I be offended because it's treating it in this sort of flippant way? But then once I talked to you about it and just worked through, this is sort of a style of critique. Like it's yes, it's funny and it's humorous and it's not really serious, but it also is, and that's just the way that they critique it. And Oshinoko stands out because it actually does critique these very glaring issues that often are not critiqued in society, or Japanese society at least. So
or
I
in,
appreciated
like,
that.
in other like manga and anime, like a lot of like his type of humor kind of depends on you actually having knowledge of other manga and anime, because basically that breastfeeding scene was kind of a jab at a different series. Same thing with reincarnation. A middle-aged, I don't know if he's a middle-aged man. Basically a man reborn and then
as a baby.
doing as a baby, and then also being a pervert. Like he was like known for being a pervert, so that comedy was a jab at that series. But if you didn't know about that series, it was just like, that was weird. But if you knew that that series did this thing, it's like, oh haha, he's like critiquing that character's action in that series was weird. Like, yeah, so it's kind of like that.
Right, so that's just the thing. Like, I lacked initially the knowledge of existing tropes in anime and manga to be able to appreciate what was actually happening. And without that pre-knowledge, I was totally at sea and wasn't sure if this was really twisted humor that I shouldn't approve of. Or yeah, but in the end it was fine. Like, it's just like, I get it now. So yeah, that's what stands out from Oshinoko. And then everything else that they covered, like the online abuse, the struggle to sell yourself, the value of humans as commodities, and the idle life, all of that was it's worth watching.
Mushoku Tensei, that's the series. It's a very well-known, popular series. I think from my memory, Mushoku Tensei is like one of the first like isekai reincarnation series that popularized the genre. Like, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, someone correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure Mushoku Tensei was the one that started that trend. Yeah, the main character is like a pervert, not a great person, and then it's like one of those shows where main character has like a million flaws and then slowly over time develop, and you see their character development.
I mean, I could see the appeal of that, but to be invested at the beginning in a terrible person is probably a high demand, I would imagine. Like, I don't know if I could watch a series for too long if I didn't start liking the character relatively soon, or even if they were a flawed character, because I've definitely liked flawed characters before in series that I've watched. There's something else about them that makes you stick by them. Like, but the way that you guys are describing this guy, it sounds like there was nothing really redeemable about him at the start for a long time. No? Great world building, terrible MC.
I personally haven't watched it or any read about it, so I can't.
Okay, that'd be interesting to. Yeah.
Should we get started?
Yeah, I think we should get started.
Over 10 minutes, probably.
Okay, are we ready to do this? Are we ready to meet the new OP? I mean, that's what I'm, to be honest, that's what I'm excited about. What the new opening is going to be.
I mean, you never know, you might be like, it's worse.
I might be disappointed that it's not a Yoasobi song. I am curious to see their progression and their growth as an artist. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Let's see if this first attempt works. So go 3, 2, 1, play.
I'm so excited. So shonen.
That's okay, Sharp.
Ooh.
I love the music already.
Yeah.
Yes, it is very meta, isn't it? This is amazing theater production quality, though.
I know. Like they translated it so well.
Oh,
Guess who that will be?
there he is.
Actually, it's not. It's someone else.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
But the face, the eyes.
I know.
What? Oh.
Akane.
Kane.
Akane.
Akane.
She's a method
That's
actor.
right.
Man, imagine watching this live. That would be such an
Yeah.
experience.
With a live band and orchestra and everything.
Yeah. Oh, new OP.
Ooh.
Oh, someone mentioned the Death Note musical.
Oh,
You
God.
know what's funny? We did watch it.
We can watch it again. With that key change. Hmm. I kind of like this, Sophie.
Hmm.
But not that key change, though, but I like it. It's
Just like, oh,
obligatory,
just
though.
remove the key change. Just rewrite the song without the key change.
Okay. I like the verse better, though. But yeah.
Mm.
Oh.
Oh, what?
Also like his rolled R's. Very nice. Very meta again.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how season one started too.
Did it? I don't.
Yeah, it did.
Ah.
It was like immediately meta, but you don't really realize it until you experience the story and go, oh,
Monme.
4 months.
I love that. How
Yeah.
it ended last season. So he just has murder on his mind, I guess.
Yeah, he's just like vengeance, revenge, and also got a cute girlfriend.
I love that he's dating Akane. I'm gonna take that back. I know, but I like Akane. Let's just say that. I have a
Yeah.
soft spot for Akane.
Oh, poor I. This is a very shonen story, by the way.
Love and
Battle
death.
series, yeah. Friendship, the nakama.
Here's where he like tears apart actors.
He's just like a very practical person.
So these kids, they went from a TV series to reality TV show to theater. It's very
Mm.
versatile.
Oh no, Akane was always from a theater group.
Oh,
She was invited to the reality TV dating show, but she was always a theater actress.
I see.
And that's why she struggled with TV, because she didn't get a role to play.
Mm, yeah, it's very different medium.
We have Demon Slayer at home, says Laddie. So he is the
Is he
one
the
from,
model?
yeah, he was a model from Sweet Today.
That guy in the background. I love how they're just pitting them against each other. That's what
Yep,
happens. That
they are
guy,
actually.
he was.
Actually the MC.
It's like chemistry screen test.
Mhm.
The romantic music.
Yeah.
Yes, the exposition is not onerous to sit through, which is impressive given
Yeah.
the quantity of words they have to get through.
So that was the thing
Now,
with Kana in this previous season where she was like very supportive.
mhm.
She was stuck in the supportive role.
So is Akana taking notes on how to become Kana now?
Pretty much, probably. Being like, oh my god, that was such good acting. How can I do that?
I have to act like her so I can act like her.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. It was like, what is it? Is it resolve? Is it confidence? Just probably like trying to channel her inner Kana.
Mm,
Loner.
she genuinely likes him,
Yeah, I
Aqua.
mean, he did save her from, you know, jumping off the bridge, so
Mm. She's a chameleon.
mm. Aww.
Mm. Oh no, Akane.
This ship is
There's a
between Apple and
situation where
Tana's
shippers
bracket.
influence the like
Source
way of
material,
the
yeah.
story.
Oh yeah, this happens. Adaptations.
Uh,
Adaptations.
Character assassination for the sake of plot.
Mhm. Why can't I? You have to work with the script.
Yes, they go into the manga author as well.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, because I do want insights into how that all works. Like what makes manga authors approve
I mean,
things that they necessarily may not really want to, but for the sake of exposure, you know.
well, we already have one arc about that. Remember the first arc was
Ah,
manga adaptation that was really crap.
yes.
So this is like the sequel of that. Yeah.
Mm. Hmm.
This is like movie adaptation, right? Cram a whole season's worth into one movie.
Yep. Mm. Something's gotta give, yeah.
Mm.
I love how they're drawing all of this up.
Yeah. You're so studious.
Ah.
Yeah.
Why? Oh.
That's a mood.
How old are they?
Um, I'm sure they wrote it and I forgot.
Okay.
I think when they introduced, they had the age, but I didn't pay
Just a
attention.
little cinnamon roll. Oh, or not. 24, apparently. This is the part where they explode.
Mm. Oh, is that where we end? Oh
Oh.
man!
Oh, I
Oh
thought we
man,
were
that
gonna
was
get
a
into it. Oh,
great
okay. No.
aspect.
Nope. Hmm. Ah, this song.
You heard the song before?
No, I just really like it.
Oh,
It's like a grungy song in a major key, which I really like.
um,
Last time we got the Aqua Edie, this is the Ruby Edie.
Ruby.
I like
Yeah.
Ruby a lot more anyway.
What is that?
That was what
Some
the
like black spiral thing.
black spiral thing.
All right, was it
Oh, it
not?
looks like something growing from the blood on the ground.
Yeah.
Hair. Like hair growing from the blood.
Yeah, like I was like, is that hair? But then it has
Like
spinal
eyes,
strands.
hair.
Oh man. Ooh.
Yeah. It's definitely blood.
Yeah, and she's wearing black, so it's like, well, this is definitely someone dead.
Yeah. Because the crow at the end
Was picking at
was
something.
yeah. a ring in its mouth or
A
something,
ring?
but just in a sea of blood. Yeah.
Yeah, let me see. I wonder. I'm gonna try and pause and see if I can find it. If we can see what the crow picked up. She
Yay,
opens the
Letty agrees
door.
with me about the ED.
Yeah, the OP I was
It's a shame that songs like that though rarely get pushed to the OP spot though, for whatever reason. I don't know. It's not
probably like hype enough.
upbeat enough. I hate the word upbeat, but that's kind of true.
It's hype. Oh, it's a tag. I think the crow picks up like a tag.
Wait, I want to go back to what Lati said. My understanding is that Japan has much stronger moral rights over works, over just copyright. So generally, authors have a lot more control than in Western adaptations. Not an area that I know much about, to be honest. But if that is the case, then I would say that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
Like giving respect to the original work. Maybe not 100% control, obviously, but at least giving more leeway for the author to make inputs into the final product. Yeah.
I mean, wasn't there the controversy? Oh, not controversy, but the Witcher adaptation, and
Yes.
the actor was
just
like
why Henry Cavill
a true
quit.
fan. Yeah, a true fan of the series, and the writers are like not as into it as he is. So he's just like, no, that's not how it will work. And the writers like disagree, and there's just arguments.
Yeah, and they lost their best draw card as a result. Yeah. Because not only was Henry Cavill, is that his name? Henry Cavill? Something Cavill.
Yeah,
he wasn't just, yeah, he's definitely a hardcore fan of the game itself. So,
and I feel like you want someone who at least knows the source material, because they're the ones that will be able to tell, like, is this consistent? Is this not consistent? Whereas it's harder if you're not a fan or you never read it before, or you just go off by whatever the director or the writer tells you, like off the script. It's harder to gauge what the source material intends, because the writers may not always translate things well in an adaptation.
It's death of the author. Like, you know, once a work is out there in the world, in a sense, according to some people, like it doesn't really belong to the author as such. It kind of belongs to whoever interprets it. But there's also different reasons. Like, I believe in The Witch's case, the direction that they wanted to take the show and the characters in weren't necessarily driven by practical considerations. Whereas in like this episode, like with Oshinoko, when the director explained why they had to cut certain parts and simplify the conflicted nature of the princess or whatever it was, you kind of bought his explanation. It was like, well, you do only have 2 hours on stage. There's like heaps of characters you have to present adequately, and that's just the nature of things. You know, you can't have everything in a very limited time. Whereas with other production choices, it's more, maybe it's just more what directors think will be more acceptable to a more wider audience, but it's not necessarily the best choice for the character, and it's not necessarily practical too. Like, they have time to develop the character in a way that would be true to the source material, but they want to take it another way because they think it would be more mainstream and more palatable for audiences, and that's not necessarily great either. So it really depends. Like, there's different reasons for changing source material. Yeah.
But I think in this case it makes sense because it seems like her character's conflict is more like an internal conflict. And I feel like for theater, it's probably a lot hard, unless like you're the main character and you have like a lot of screen time. She's just like the enemy villain side character, right? She's not going to have the screen time to be able to show that conflict. And I think that's their justification, right? It's like, we don't have enough screen time to allow you to present this. And I think what the anime, I can't remember if the manga did it because it's been so long since I read it, but what the anime did was actually showing the time in real time. It's like, this is how long it will take if you portray it this way, and this is how long it will take.
Yeah, like the timer. I love how they did the timer thing. That was great.
Cool.
It's like I have receipts for why I did this, you know.
Yeah, and that's something that I feel like in the manga when I read it, it was like, oh yeah, I get it. But when you actually see it live in the anime, it was just like, oh yeah, like they actually like drive that point home by showing both in real time. And I was like, damn, that was a good choice. On top of the adaptation and like time, the medium I feel like that suffers the most is probably novels to series or movies, and light novels as well. Because I find that, I know a lot of anime watchers are like, or like light novel readers are very critical of anime adaptations, sometimes righteously so, because some of them are just not great. But there are series that are very internal monologue heavy. And because when you read at your own pace, right? And some people can read really fast. So time gets warped or stopped almost when you're reading internal monologue. It's like, oh, it's all happening in your head. You can read slow as you want, but you know that in real time, 2 seconds has passed since you had like a paragraph in your head. But that doesn't translate well to a live series or movie, because it's like someone has to read that out in the right intonation. They can't just speed run it. But then how are they going to adapt that and make it make sense, but also have the right pacing? And people aren't going to be like, oh my God, it's so hard to get to the point, right? It's like you have to find that right balance of it translating well, but also not.
Which is a skill I don't have, obviously. Like, I'm never a script writer or whatever. Like, yeah. So it is definitely easier to criticize and just, especially if you love the work. Novel to film or series adaptation. I'm trying to think of a good example.
Harry Potter? It's a long one.
Are we gonna just stay here for the next 10 hours to talk about like the adaptations of Harry Potter to film? I mean, I was more thinking Lord of the Rings, like the classic.
I was going along the Ravenclaw train of thought.
Yes, that too. Now my mind's just totally. Laddie mentioned Hunger Games. What was the issue there? I remember it being a big deal that they didn't use voiceover for Katniss in the Hunger Games films, as her monologue was so much of the original books. That is, as someone who never read the books, I cannot imagine having a Katniss voiceover, to be honest. I think it would be hugely annoying, but that is as someone who never read the books, so I'm not sure. Actually, that's a similar thing with Harry Potter adaptations, because obviously a lot of the books are from firstly Harry's perspective, but then it switches to different characters' perspectives, and obviously a lot of internal monologue, a lot of reflection and introspection happens in the text that is impossible to translate onto the screen. And I think the way that the films dealt with that was actually quite well. Like, it didn't feel like there was something missing when we didn't get those monologues. But instead of trying to jam the monologue into the film or the dialogue in a very unnatural sort of way, they kind of just acknowledged that they couldn't fit in the internal monologues of the different characters that we get in the books. And they were just like, well, we're just going to ramp up the action or ramp up the, facial expressions of characters, and you can sort of tell what they're feeling. We're going to ramp up certain other things. We're going to change these things so that you get the result is the same, but the pathway to get to that result is different, if that makes any sense. So I feel like there are ways where, if in the original source, the internal monologue is quite important to the telling of the story, there are ways around that. And one of that is to not jam it in unnaturally, but to just kind of acknowledge that it's going to be different and just run with whatever else you decide can make up for it. Yeah, I don't know. Thoughts, Joe?
I feel like the main goal of adaptation, whether they use monologues or no monologues or whatever they adapt, I feel like the main thing is your adaptation be able to be enjoyed standalone? Does it make sense standalone? Like, the ones that I see fail are usually the ones that people will go, well, that doesn't make sense. Why the hell did that happen? And then people will be like, oh, you have to read the source material to figure out that, oh, this actually happened. And it's just like, but I shouldn't need to read the source material to figure out that this thing happened and that's why this character did this. I feel like that's a failed adaptation, whereas ones that can seamlessly adapt without you realizing that, oh, actually, they cut out a lot of these things, but if you didn't even know, it still makes sense as its own entity. That's a great adaptation, even though people will still complain like, oh my god, they cut that out. No, but
you will always have the butthurt people who are like, it's not exactly as it was in the source material. But if you satisfy like 90% of other people, and also the people who didn't read the source material, and it makes sense to them, then I think that's probably what you're going for. Yeah. No, that's a good point. Standalone. Yeah. Show don't tell, basically. The like eternal mantra. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Lord of the Rings was like, we don't need 3 pages describing grass.
No. Oh my god. That's what really killed me when the first time I tried reading Lord of the Rings was in high school, and then I've never attempted it again because of the descriptions of grass. And when I watched the movies, I was like, oh, thank god there's no like 10-minute shot of like blades of grass.
I'm trying to think of a series that I definitely thought, oh, it's not as good, is probably Index, the scientific
Railgun, scientific Railgun.
Yeah, scientific Railgun, Magical Index. So Railgun is a spin-off series of Magical Index, but the Magical Index is from a light novel, whereas Railgun is from a manga. Even though it was adapted by the same studio, you can see, and probably different teams, Railgun's adaptation is like A+. Actually, A+. But Index was just like, because the light novel had a lot of internal monologue, I just remember watching the anime being like, that didn't make sense. But then when they do go into the lengthening dialogue, it's just like, oh my god, the guy is literally dying, like he's bleeding out on the ground when they finish this conversation. And it's just like, I don't know how they're gonna win. Like, it just sucks. I don't know, like, it must suck being someone that has to do the script writing to adapt the material. Like, I feel bad for the script, like, even in Oshinoko, the script writer's probably like, oh shit, the author does not agree with my adaptation. Oh man.
Yeah, it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. So never be a scriptwriter.
Yeah, it's just like tough job. Like obviously there are some that are just not great, if they don't respect the source material, then it's like, okay, then you should not be doing this. But the ones that do respect it but also have the toughest job of like, how do I even translate this?
Yes.
And I guess that's why I do see some people go, well, maybe they shouldn't adapt it in the first place, right? Like there is that train of thought of like, well, if you can't make it work, then why are you trying to fit this amazing story or whatever into this mold of a different medium?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I agree with Laddie about the whole, like, if you're going to make an adaptation, you have to, one, respect it, yes, but also two, turn it into something that suits the medium into which you are adapting it, and what was it? Elevates the original work. Yeah, that's it. Like, if it's going to be exactly the same, there's no point for adaptations, but you have to turn it into something more, or at least different, but just as good. Which, I don't know. I know that just sounds like
it's a high bar.
Hopefully they're getting paid enough for taking on an impossible task, but who knows. There's a lot of interesting stuff about script writing and that whole industry, but anyway. Yeah.
Oh, Laddie just said that season 3 of Index was trash by an adaptation and you can't understand it without reading the original. Yeah, that's why I stopped. I finished season 2 and I was like, no more.
Promised Neverland, that is a series that was recommended to me, but then people were like, just watch season 1. So I guess there's the adaptation issues took over the next seasons, however many were there after the season 1. So
respectfully disagree with people who enjoy
season
the
1?
anime adaptation.
Not even season 1.
Not even season 1. Personal opinion. Nothing wrong if you enjoy the anime of season 1. It is one of those shows. Disclaimer, big disclaimer. To be fair, because I was a manga reader first, so I have certain biases. The whole thing is like mental warfare, right? Wait, how many people don't know Promised Neverland? Actually, I don't want to spoil it because it's
spoilers land. It's fine. Anyone who doesn't want to be spoiled, go away.
Mute, yeah.
I mean, wait, what's a nice way to say that? No, yeah, just mute.
just mute for like the next 2 minutes, but okay, I can do a spoiler free. Basically, mental warfare between different sides, and so there's a lot of like tricking and like trapping the other person, trying to like deceive the other person. But the thing is, the fun part is them living in the anxiety, right? Yes, you can see someone's panicking, but when you're living through their thoughts, it's like a different experience. And I feel like when the anime just cut out the majority of the internal monologue, it was like visually, yeah, they did convey it, but I feel like it didn't have that same impact as when I actually read their thoughts, and like their mind was like running at 180 miles per hour because it was such a panic situation. But in the visuals, it was just them standing there frozen, and I'm just like, that's not the same. Like, that's not the same without their thoughts. It's just like that didn't convey the stakes of that moment.
I guess it's just like, how do you script write and show anxiety or like extreme? Yeah, how do you do that? that's maybe the script artist just looked at it and was like,
Like, well, yeah, it's hard.
Yeah,
it's very difficult. If I were to, adapt, like there was one of the scenes, I'm just gonna spoil it, kind of, not really.
I mean, I'm
the main character, the guardian,
the house mom,
yes, is like kind of already suspecting her to be involved, and so she is having to pretend that everything is okay. But in her mind, it was such a oh shit moment. It was one of those, you turn the page and she's just like horror movie, right? You turn the page and she's right there, and it's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And then like she's like in her mind, she's like thinking about like, oh shit, she's checking my pulse right now to see if I'm like, my heart is racing. I need to like, yeah, I need to make sure like my facial expressions are staying calm. I need to make sure I get through this. And it was just like massive like amounts of things that's happening in her brain while visually she's acting normal. And that's the thing. I think what makes the anime like not like translate that well is because visually they should be acting normal, but internally they're not. And so when you lose the words, it's like, well, you're just seeing them.
Oh, you're just seeing their faces freeze, or
yeah, they just freeze.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, the moment's passed. And it's like, wait, that's not the scene that I read in the manga. It's just like, if I were to, again, if the problem is like, if I were to expand it, it will be way too long and the pacing will be completely off. But if I were to translate, for example, that scene, it will just be like voice acting, but then I will layer it. I will be like one sentence, but the next sentence will be cutting off the previous one or overlapping. So it's like your mind is just being chased, right? You're feeling like all these thoughts are like flowing into it, and then visually I will probably have a black background and white text flying over the screen, and that's how I would try and portray the feeling that I felt when I read that scene. It was just like, oh shit, it was one of those moments where really stays.
You have visualized how you would visualize
how I would have I would have adapted that scene. But again, for it to fit into the runtime that the show has, right, it probably won't work because there's so much monologue. How do you make that fit? it's going to be a struggle.
It's hard.
So if you do one, you have to do all of them, right?
Yeah.
So they probably made the smarter choice of, we're just not going to have any of them and get through it. Yeah. So
you're one of those hardcore butthurt fans, so.
Yes, I am one of those hardcore butthurt fans.
Too bad.
They did it
wrong. But yes, back to Oshinoko. Wait. So, it would be pretty funny if the Oshinoko author didn't like the adaptation choices of this arc. Yes. But then, again, doing meta, well.
Yeah, actually, I think from my understanding, again, someone needs to fact check me, is that Kaguya Sama had a stage play which was not the best, and people suspect
an officially sanctioned stage play.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, with Kaguya Sama. And I think people speculated that he's using that experience with this arc.
Oh.
Speculation, though. I don't know if it's true. Someone can fact check me or tell me if the if the source for that.
Well, that's a good story, so we'll just assume that's the
case. We will assume that it's true.
Yeah, but I'm assuming again going. Obviously, the Oshinoko author. Do you know their name? What's the name of the source author?
Akasaka.
I'm assuming they're part of, like, an integral part of the production team. Like, any adaptation will have the manga author or the whoever it was that created it. Like,
I feel like it
deep
depends.
in the script writing and all that, and like, or at least reviewing things, right?
Yeah, I think
I don't know. I don't know anything about how it works over there.
If they have time, I guess. Yeah, he's a big VTuber fan as well.
Okay. It's funny because good to know.
It's so funny because Oshinoko had like a lot of because it's a weekly manga, and then sometimes he'll just have breaks. It'll be like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna release the next chapter for like 4 weeks, and then people look over and say, oh, it's Apex season. This is like he's playing Apex with VTubers.
That's actually pretty cool. So clearly is an enlightened fella. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's actually, it tickles me to think that as the producers of this anime series is making the show, they're making a show about how the source author is not happy and wants them to rewrite everything while they're, trying to keep what's his name? Akasaka happy. It just tickles me that it's just constantly in the forefront of their mind. Maybe they're not thinking about it, I don't know. But it is, again, it's the meta. There's this constant meta in everything. Yeah. So
it's like if they have to adapt this, they will read the story and be like, oh shit, I guess
is he calling us out?
Yeah. Oh no, it's a call out story.
Yeah. But yeah, any other thoughts from this opening episode? Were you happy with it, Schyph? Since you were looking so forward to it.
I'm super, especially the opening. Like, they did that opening so well. I was not expecting that. The way that they already showed like parts of the stage play and then introducing the characters, and then you go into like, oh, okay, these are the actors behind the scenes, and I was like, oh yeah, but I want to hear your thoughts because you haven't seen it. Like, yeah, because I'm a manga reader, so I know.
Right, you knew what was going to happen. Yes,
I knew what was going to happen. So we should be hearing your thoughts. I
would give 10 out of 10 already, just for like the first 3 minutes of the theater production with the the different blades and the fire effects and the music. I love the music, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I do like getting back into the way that they are very detailed about all of the little practical tiny things about stage productions. And like there was this whole part where Akane was explaining, I think it was Akane who was explaining how, the main cast show up. The main cast sometimes doesn't show up, and then there's substitutes that come in, and then certain theater people will only arrive in the evening. Like, it's just all these little like schedule-y tiny nitty-gritty details that they still put in there that you think wouldn't be interesting to know about, but just the way that they present it is interesting. So I think that they do that really well. But the person whose story I am most interested in is Akane, because I don't know, I just have a really soft spot for like soft-spoken people and people who really struggle with putting themselves out there. Like, like I know Kana had this whole thing like last season where she had to learn to really assert herself and just be the center of attention. But Akane definitely is like sort of the wallflower. Yeah. So I would like to see what she turns herself into. Although with her, there's always this risk of her losing herself, you know, in the character that she creates. And it's sort of like, wait, who am I? You know? Yeah. Yeah. What about you? Well, I feel like it's interesting to see from your perspective as a manga reader whether you feel like the adaptation for this arc is promising or not, just from this one episode.
I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Like, I think because it's just, they adapted it so well. And so, I don't know, it felt like time flew, but also so much has happened. I kind of in my mind, because again, I read it so long ago, I couldn't remember. I didn't expect that we would get to the author is not happy with the script in episode 1. I thought it's going to be like episode 3 before we even get there.
So it's actually a long build up to that point.
No, it's more, I can't remember. I can't remember the pacing of the manga because I read it weekly. Like I read it as it was releasing. And sometimes Akasaka has like breaks in between his chapter releases. So
yes.
I couldn't remember, but I wasn't expecting us to end there. So when it did, I was just like, oh shit. Like if it did feel like they managed to do a recap, but also progress what is happening for this arc really well. Like we just immediately dived into this arc without any sort of like, you know, sometimes when season 2 starts, you have like a slow introduction. You kind of like let the audience settle in. These are the characters. This is what they do. No, they just like jumped in and was like, oh, here we go. This is the arc. This is the theater arc. Here we go. These are the characters involved. These are the conflicts. Bam.
Okay. So happy all round. Laddie's happy. Oh yes. What's their name? Brought up the paint. That was when the paint splashes when Kana and the other dude Taiki. Yes.
I'm gonna
when they had their whole chemistry screen test and then they exploded. And
that was so cool.
Yeah.
Taiki Himekawa. Yeah. He looks older than he is. He's only 19.
Right. But he looks like I like him. I like his vibe. I feel like if I ever was a character, like the chillness and just but then when I really get fired up about something, I really get fired up about something. But the rest of the time, like normal time, it's just like meh.
This is chill.
Just with the stubble on the cheek, and obviously he doesn't really care about his appearance much, and he's just like meh.
Yeah, I really like the painting part. It's like they're really exuding their skills, like, and probably affecting everyone else, right? Is it like, I love that, you know, on top of like, you know, paint splattering, there's like the scenes where it splatters across Akane and Aqua, and it's just like, and you can see that like both visually like affected by the acting, and it's just like, ooh, that was such a great way to demonstrate that visually. Compared to, I know like manga, it's like you just know that it has happened because you get told. But yeah, like the way that they presented that visually was just well.
Yep, totally not telling. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
See, I do like Oshinoko.
I mean, we did have a very long debate about episode 1 for the season 1.
Yes, but only because I didn't get it. Because I didn't have, again, it was just that knowledge that I needed, like the context of what the original work was trying to critique and in what manner it was critiquing. Yeah. But now that we're in it, yeah, I am looking forward to sort of see how it's like written obviously by an industry insider, plus like copious amounts of research into how things actually work. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I think when he was writing Oshinoko, I'm pretty sure he did consult one of his friends who like is or was an idol. Who I'm trying to remember, like
it's like
I think
been
she was
through the
like
mill.
yeah, like was stalked and was like so I think he did like he does go out and research and make sure that what he's writing is
Yeah,
is
it shows. It really shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts before we finish? Yeah.
No, I just look forward to episode 2 now.
Thank you guys for coming along to this watch party. It's been really fun, and we look forward to seeing you for episode 2.
Yay. Bye.
Bye.